He made a video claiming his ex-friend and podcast host George Janko is a liar, so we have quite a bit to unpack in today's video. As most of you guys know, Logan Paul runs a podcast known as Impulsive, and this podcast has had a range of different co-hosts throughout the years, but he's kept Mike Majlak on for the longest. The other guy who's probably been there the second longest would be George Janko, as he's been an Impulsive co-host for roughly 15 months. But I think he was also frequenting this show before he became an official co-host, and it seems like they had a good run, but it was very clear by the end, things were really falling off. Something was seriously wrong in that friendship. And out of everything that happened in public that we could see, I feel like there was like two main pivotal moments that really cut these two apart from each other. Number one was Logan calling out and going in on George for being a Christian, and number two was the Bobby Lee podcast. Just kind of made George look like he struggled to take jokes. And it was just all around a weird look for George because he really was branding himself at that time as being a comedian. But we have a whole lot more information on the situation now as the recent feud flared up again a couple days ago when George brought the other co-host, Mike Majlak, onto his podcast. So here's the first clip that's important to this feud.
This is where we probably have to get into the material. Like that was
Bobby Lee situation.
No, hold on. We can talk about those. Okay, you can. I'll listen instead. Yeah.
Okay, the Bobby Lee situation.
Who was the first person that jumped off the couch and said George just left? That was not good. We have to fix the situation.
But did they not cut shit that you should have stood up for me and said, hey, you can't cut that shit. That's gonna make him look like an idiot for leaving.
Okay, let's slow down and I'll answer that. We have always cut. This is all healthy, by the way. We have always cut.
Start crying.
No. Which by the way would be healthy. We have numerous times on the show, which I'm sure a number of shows do, cut things that we believe will protect the integrity or reputation of the guest.
That protected nobody but him.
No, of the guest. That's what I'm trying.
Well, what about the guy that you break bread with, bro?
But we removed a number of things that you said on the podcast.
Name one.
Well, no, I'm not going.
Booty, bro.
No. Do you want me to? There was something that you said on the laser beam episode.
What laser beam episode?
Do you remember laser beam in Australia?
What I said?
That episode. I'd rather not say. I can tell. Why don't I just tell you?
Just tell me. I'll beep it.
You said something about like laughing at a girl getting hit in like a parking lot. You saw like a fight.
Yeah, I just said the joke wrong.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I didn't sexually harass somebody, man.
I'm not.
Whoa, okay, that brings a whole lot more context into the situation. If they cut out Bobby doing that to him, things start to make a whole lot more sense now.
But okay, Mike, if this was an episode that was you, and what happened to you, and then the whole world thinks that I walked away because I can't take a joke, that's fucked.
Well,
yeah, that is fucked up.
That's fucked.
It parlayed into more stuff happening down the line. Like it just became, at that point, you saw me, I went on Bobby's show.
Yeah.
Right?
And they cut around it. You said that
I have no control over that. I
try to make peace with this guy.
I know.
You've seen me.
Yeah.
I've tried to make peace with him behind closed doors. I try to reach out. I try to be cool. But by the way, and I'll just say this, we'll just empty it out. I never had a problem with Bobby Lee.
No, he knows
I had a problem with the way that Logan and you were kind of gassing him to keep doing. He started the episode putting his balls in my face. I let that one go. Then every 2 seconds, he kept grabbing my dick. I don't think... How would you feel if a man that has his back completely towards you, that only turns around to grab your dick,
right,
talk shit to your face, and you can't smack or beat the living brakes off of this guy? Because Logan makes me apologize to this man, or I don't have a job on Impulsive anymore.
Whoa, what? Leave that in, or don't post the episode, or don't cut the episode like they did.
I don't like when people cut certain things to fit their narrative or to protect somebody. If it makes Bobby look wrong, or it don't like expose him in the best of light, that's on him because he decided to act that way. If it don't paint George in the best of light, then that's on him because he decided to act that way. If Bobby was the one that was making George uncomfortable and doing too much, then Bobby was the one should have apologized to George, not the other way around. Because if that was the case and if that was true, what was George apologizing for? You get what I'm saying? Like that doesn't sit well with me. And I probably would have walked out too. That probably would have been my last day because it's like, that's some real bullshit. Like, don't play in my face like that. Like, are you serious?
They really hide Bobby Lee's garbage behavior and paint George to look sensitive so they could stay on good terms with Bobby? What? And if this was like to protect Bobby's image, I don't even think it would protect it that much because Bobby and Kalila, they've already been there, done that when it came to really tearing down his image. And for those of you guys who don't know, Bobby Lee is a massive comedian who has had a very public relationship with his now ex-girlfriend and co-host of his podcast known as Tiger Belly. Roughly, I think it was like a year or two ago, that romantic relationship ended and it turned into a very public humiliation ritual where all sorts of wild stuff was said and just came out. But still, even though that's wild, that doesn't take away from what he did to George, if that's true.
How crazy is that?
I don't think I understood. I can only speak for myself.
Bro, it's
I
on a
hope
group
you.
chat.
I hope you can
It's on
understand
a group
that.
chat.
No.
And when I asked him
I'm talking
point
about.
blank,
No, I'm talking about during the. No, I'm talking about during the episode because there was. I didn't know that you were feeling.
But after the
type of way
episode, do you
about
remember
it.
when you called me? And I said, Mike, this is all that happens. And you said, verbatim, you said, it's our fault for not telling you this, but me and Logan are really the ones who should be talking to the guest. You are really there for a boys only episode. So while I get sexual harassed, my other co-host is trying to fire me and you're trying to leverage me to be quiet during other guests. And then on my birthday, you guys shot 3 episodes, so I couldn't show up.
I just think.
On my 30th birthday, you shot 3 episodes.
I think
that's crazy. It was on the calendar for months.
I think by the time we got there was so much like confusion and disarray in the podcast that there was no coming back. We got to.
But it
we got
wasn't
to a
my
point.
fault.
No. First of all, I didn't say it was your fault.
Yeah, that's weird. Why did they set up the podcast like that? But I believe it simply based on how the guys were sat. You always have the main guest sitting right here, and then you had Mike and Logan sitting to the left, and then for some reason, George was
right
like
there.
kind of behind the host to the right, which just
Right.
didn't make sense because then he was kind of like this fourth wheel on the show. It also subliminally puts the guest in a more uncomfortable situation as he's kind of surrounded by hosts, like he's smack in the middle. If you don't know the hosts, you're going to be more uncomfortable when you're sitting in the middle of all of them rather than having your host on one side and the guest on the other side. And that just doesn't make sense for a show standpoint because you would want your guest to be as comfortable as possible to have the best possible conversation.
I was
Do you
always
know what
the
the
one
last
standing
straw
up
for me
for
was?
you.
Mike, I had to escape. I had to leave for my own fear. When Logan came after me for my religion, the show hit rock bottom and we weren't getting paid. I was getting paid $5,000 a month, and that's covering just Reed. I have a mortgage. I have my sister that works for me. I have Belle. I'm trying to get married. I had all these things. So I had to start my own show because we're not making money on the show and I'm getting pushed out of the show.
Well, at the time we weren't making money. You made money on the show.
But at the time, we're a couple months.
How much money did you make
I was
over the
I
course
can show
of the-
you my books. I was spending 10 G's a month being on the show.
Right.
Name me a job that you're a part of that you spend $10,000 to do. Okay, so that's 1. 2, and by the way, let's not forget that for a year and a half, I didn't get paid.
No, and I didn't get paid for years.
Okay.
Until I got paid.
Okay, that is a massive allegation from George here that Logan eventually did respond to. And Mike does push back about the money.
Was it they were not getting paid because they weren't bringing in enough money, or they weren't accumulating money, or was they not getting paid because of some other stuff? That is the question, okay? Because I don't think they talk about their finances in their books over there. You know, I don't know we know anything about their finances when it comes to their podcast and how much they make and all this kind of stuff. So those are the questions that need to be asked.
But you did make a sizable amount of money on the show.
And by the way, always grateful. I was always grateful.
Something like
that? I don't like to talk about money, but I was always grateful. Always grateful. I think anybody could see that. But when I got pushed out, and I'm seeing that I'm getting pushed out, and I start my own show, do you know what my final straw was?
What?
I got my show going, and then not only was I controlled and pushed around on Impulsive, but then Logan's making calls and directing my show. And I'm saying, hey, man, you can't tell me what to do on my own show. That's not okay.
What's that about?
He told me that I couldn't take Celsius. And then I said, hey,
He didn't tell you that you couldn't
I have
take
text
Celsius.
messages.
No, he didn't tell you that you couldn't take Celsius. He
says if I take Celsius, I'm not a part of Impulsive.
Then he told you that if you take Celsius, that you cannot continue to be on Impulsive, which is the core driver for Prime, as you're going to continue to funnel viewership from the Impulsive show back to your show, which promotes a competitive product.
Yeah.
He also told you that if you wait 6 months after the deal's done, you're more than welcome to rejoin the show if you need to make money.
So what Mike said there makes sense. And if that's true, it's fair. Because at the time, George's audience was coming directly from Impulsive.
But they were always trying to find a way to push me out.
I don't.
You know what he told me? When I told
think
you know what I told
that was,
hold on,
I
hold
think that
on.
was
This
a
is a guy
fair.
this is a guy who's sending us screenshots of $11 million a week that he's making. Okay,
Oh, wow.
and on top of that, we never got any money from from Prime, and we own that show. So technically, we should have gotten a percentage of that. I never asked for it like the way you did. I stayed the out of it. I didn't care because I'm grateful for what I'm making. I'm gonna go start my own business. But when I come over here, because I'm scared I'm gonna lose my job here, and then you're saying no, I sent them out.
Not you're saying no. That's what. That once again, please, bro.
But let me just finish,
because that's one thing.
Well,
like,
are you saying you?
Yes.
No,
well,
I'm not saying you.
Because
No,
it's
you.
one thing. It's one thing. Like with all of this, bro. With all of this, that you have to understand. He wasn't the only one that took hits for how the relationship ended with you. I got the same brunt, bro. I got the same brunt.
Okay,
I got
question.
and I only ever spoke highly.
Can I speak for a second, please?
Well, yeah, I mean.
So when I get that call and I tell him, I go, Logan, I get it, bro. And I fully told him, I go, listen, man, like, I will take half the deal that Celsius gives me. Half. If you want to put it on the table for my show, a quarter, work with me. He says, I won't pay you a dime. You're here because of me.
Okay, so if Logan really said that, that is some insane ego going on. It's also shocking that he didn't want to build up George, because if George's independent platform is larger, he would then bring more viewers to watch Impulsive. So that's just a win-win. Sponsors also a part of that equation, because if he has more sponsors, he can then afford to build out his team for the show, so he can post more at a higher quality, which would then grow the show.
I said, well, what do you want me to do for my bills, bro? I got no money. And he says, go have your rich dad pay for it.
Hello?
Listen, that's fighting words, bro. Look at me.
No,
That's
but
fighting words, bro. You don't bring up somebody's father.
Would you say
bro.
that the way that you handled it from a word standpoint was mature, acceptable?
What did I say? That I beat the brakes off of him?
Correct.
If he was in front of me, I would have swung at him.
But that's what I'm
After
trying to
he said
say.
that?
We were at a point where no one was speaking properly to each other.
So if George, okay, I can understand if he said George was talking out of the side of his neck before, you know, Logan started to talk out of the side of his neck. I can understand that, because you start talking crazy, then you can't be surprised if somebody starts talking crazy back. But if George wasn't talking crazy and he was basically saying, like he said, listen, what am I going to do for money? Like, if I don't take this deal, what am I supposed to do? And he's talking about, well, get your dad, rich dad, to pay for it. Yeah, I'm going to be like, who is you talking to? Like, are you serious right now? Violence is never the answer. Let's start there, okay? I can understand George's feelings towards the situation, and I understand why he felt that way, because it's like, that was uncalled for. But violence is still not the answer. I'm going to have to put that out there, because I don't want to make it seem like I'm rooting and for violence, because violence is never the answer. But at the same time, you can't dismiss George on how he felt at that moment, because that was out of pocket.
We were at a point where no one was speaking properly to each other. And the only person, and George, and the only person probably that was the calmest out of the three, I sent you a very nice text message. Please,
Mike, you went to Celsius to try to get my deal. Called me right after you called them. You never called to check in on me.
Do you know?
Oh,
you
wow.
never called to
I
see.
texted you.
No, you didn't. It was
I
after
texted
you went
you.
after the deal.
And by the way, I wasn't going after the deal.
You did.
I was going after the contract to bring to Logan and say, beat this with Prime, please. I was never going to take the Celsius
But
deal.
listen.
Okay.
I don't really know if I believe Mike here. Sponsorship rates, they're pretty standardized based on how many views you get and I guess your brand size. So Prime could just simply offer him a fair market value rate. I'm assuming he would either just accept or pass based on the price, and there's just no reason to fish around for like the deal number specifically. And also, especially if they're trying to save this relationship, they could just throw a deal his way and then the ball is in his court if he wants to continue this relationship or not. Also,
Right.
this is such an LA moment, as there's just so much snaky behind the scenes stuff that apparently happens there.
You can't. Okay, so I have one friend telling me to go have my rich.
We're just having a conversation. The one thing I am a little bit upset about was the text that you sent back to me. That's it.
I told you you're a piece of shit. Everyone
Evil,
knows it.
yes.
You need to. But dude, I meant every word of it.
That's crazy.
No, I'm not.
That's crazy.
At least he's standing on business. That boy's standing on business. He like, yeah, I said that, and I meant it.
I kind of want to pivot from this just because like I don't like it's unfair to talk about him because like he's not
here.
Yeah.
He's not here.
And just to make it clear, because people are gonna clip it, nothing that I went through would I change. I had great memories. I have great memories with Logan. I really do. I have great memories with him. He's taught me so much in life that I could handle now through what he's put me through and what he's taught me. He is one of God's greatest sharpening tools that I've ever had in my life. There's going to be so many things that I teach my children that he taught me. There is nothing that I regret with that relationship, but I will not bow anymore. And if he wants to come to me as a man and we could discuss it as men, then we'll talk about it. But I'm no longer his right hand. I'm not going to be it.
I respect him for that. Because I love when somebody, even though you might probably fall out with somebody or don't see eye to eye anymore or not as close as you were with the person, you got to give them their flowers. You know, you can't be a hater, because if you don't really keep it real, then that's when you start becoming a hater, because it's like, okay, yeah, I don't fuck with you, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to dim your light or discredit what you taught me or what you brung and added to my life, because that was something that was important that I learned from, and that, like he said, he's going to pass down to his children when he have kids, or if he have kids already, I don't know, but that's what he's going to pass down to his kids as well. So he thanked him for that. He thanked him for the opportunity and everything like that. He keeping it real and he keeping it a buck. So kudos to him.
I wanted to keep that in for context before we take a look at Logan Paul's response, which has now been deleted.
I had to start my own show because we're not making money on the show, and I'm getting pushed out.
You made money on the show.
I can show you my books. I was spending 10 G's a month being on the show.
All right, let's talk about this. Obviously, I wasn't on the podcast to represent myself, so I'd like to clarify a few things that were said. As well as having his own credit card, all expenses related to the show were paid for, including all travel and lodging. Obviously, George's total reimbursement came out to $20,000, 317 cents. I'd love to see any books that show otherwise. Spending $120,000 a year to be on a show is a little confusing.
Okay, so that is a direct counter to one of George's main reasons for why he left the show. George is going to have to respond to this.
This is a guy who's sending us screenshots of $11 million a week that he's making.
That statement is so crazy that it's almost laughable. That would mean I'm making $572 million a year. I'm nowhere near that. What happened was Prime had a very successful month. I think we did like 60 to 70 million, and I sent it to our group chat because I was proud of the business. I was stoked to show the boys, and I think George maybe misinterpreted that as like my personal income.
The show hit rock bottom, and we weren't getting paid. I was getting paid $5,000 a month.
But you did make a sizable amount of money on the show.
And by the way, always grateful. I was always grateful.
Something like that?
Yeah, I don't like to talk about money.
I know he doesn't want to talk money. I know he believes it out, but George made $317,000 in the 15 months that he got paid for on Impulsive. The work requirements consisted of about 3 days a month, 3 hours each day, traveling the world, networking, and meeting some of the coolest people ever. It comes out to about $2,300 per hour, and he also had 10% equity of the entire show.
If this is true and he was actually reimbursed for all travel, that's a very fair deal.
Not you, not Caleb, not Kevin, not Dylan. Nobody called me when I got fired.
George did not get fired. He quit. I'll touch on that in a second. But after he quit, I called him frequently. I reached out. I wanted to reconcile the friendship. I invited him to my birthday party and WrestleMania and even my ranch a few weeks later. He chose not to come. He also unfollowed all the people he mentioned on Instagram, which is maybe why they didn't call him. I don't know. I can't speak for them, but he still does not follow them to this day.
And then on my birthday, you guys shot 3 episodes, so I couldn't show up.
The 2 episodes he's talking about, not 3, were shot 4 days after George's birthday. His birthday's on January 3rd. We shot those episodes on January 7th. We were already in Vegas signing the UFC to Prime, and as we do, want to capitalize on the location and our use of time and energy and the guests in that city. George didn't come to work because he wanted to spend time with his family for his belated birthday, which I totally understand and we even praised.
One of the things that I love about George, he prioritizes his family and friends over anything.
Again, if that's true, it seems like George misrepresented a lot of the key details here. My big question then is Logan going to talk about the Bobby or religion situation, though?
I got my show going, and then not only was I controlled and pushed around on Impulsive, but then Logan's making calls and directing my show. He told me that I couldn't take Celsius.
So this is the big one. Making calls, trying to make it seem like I wanted to control his show is absolutely ridiculous. As you can see right here, I was like, hey, we got to get you Prime because I saw him drinking our competitor, and he told me to call him. He was filming my reaction to tell me he took a deal with a competitor. I told him, please don't film. Like, I'd like to talk about this. I hope you're joking, by the way. The truth is, I thought it was a bad look that my best friend and co-host took a brand deal with our competitor without consulting me, asking me, giving us even a chance to match it before he signed the deal, because the audience that he's building, at least at the time, on his own podcast was being funneled directly from the podcast that I was building with him. I said, hey, dude, I understand you need to make money. The entire text is right here that I sent him after our conversation, because I did understand his position if he needed to make money, but I thought it was also a little odd because he did make $317,000 in 15 months. Regardless, I did tell him I can't have him on Impulsive if he's going to take the deal with the competitor, but if after he makes the money he wants to come back to the podcast, he's more than welcome.
I mean, that's kind of reasonable, and that's close to what Mike said previously, but I'm interested in George's take on this, or his response on this, because George filming Logan, rubbing it in that he's going to a competitor of Logan's. Number one, that just doesn't make sense. Number two, it doesn't really look good on George's end either. So I don't really know why he would want to do that. I'm not sure if that's true or not. So much of the situation is just, he said this. No, he said this.
He said,
so
she said.
we don't really know.
Hey man, where you're at, there's no room for you to grow. They won't let you grow. They will not let you grow.
I thought saying that to Mike was a little crazy. He's grown a lot. He has 2.7 million subscribers since we met. He's a multimillionaire, a best-selling author. I tried as much as I could to help him get into those positions, and it's not entirely because of me. Mike is a phenom in his own right, and he capitalized on the platform that I gave him, which is awesome. Just like George is doing now. But if that's not growth, like what is? In fact, I think people forget, like, I praised George for starting a podcast like a lot.
Georgie started his own podcast. I think it's a great idea. I always love when my co-hosts venture out and do their own things. Congratulations. It's awesome, guys. Check out his podcast.
And also saying they won't let you grow was a little hurtful because I thought at least I helped Mike do some of the things that he did, and I even encouraged him to start his own podcast.
I think you should take a page out of Georgie's book and start a show of your own.
There's no greater feeling than watching people you love succeed. I tried to give people around me a platform, and if they capitalize on it, fantastic. Mike and George did. And George will even tell you this off camera. I encouraged him to pursue media and comedy since 2015. I really believe in the kid, and I still do. There's a lot more. I'm not going to get into it, but this isn't to say, by the way, that I didn't fuck up along the way. I did. I should not have mocked his beliefs. I apologize for that. I should have stuck up for him with Bobby Lee, and I definitely should have had his back more like a friend. There's a lot of things I would have done differently, but here we are. It saddens me that our story has unfolded this way. I wish him nothing but health, wealth, happiness, all the success that he wants, and I hope that one day we can sit down and have a relationship and a conversation.
Okay, good response on Logan's part, but now
Very,
a lot
very
more
good.
stuff is up in the air. George's podcast is still up and unedited, so I don't really know what that means. But George did respond with one tweet. Hey, no need to make TikToks. Come talk to me in person. We can handle it like real men. But that tweet is also deleted.
No, George. No, George. You could have said that if you didn't go on your podcast and say the things that you said on your podcast. The things that you said on your podcast when it came to the situation, it needed a public response when it came to Logan, because now people are questioning his character, questioning the things that he has done, and it looks like it was like some grimy shit going on over there. And that needs to be addressed publicly when it comes to his brand, okay? Because Logan, he is a brand, just like you are a brand too, George. If he wanted to make that TikTok with the receipts and address everything, and then he also didn't bash you or anything like that, he really just cleared his name and cleared what really happened on cleared his point of view of the situation with receipts. So I don't see anything wrong with him making a TikTok, addressing the situation and defending himself and defending his character and defending his brand. And he can still talk to you and call you like a man, but I think he needed to do that publicly because you brung it up publicly on your platform.
He also just recorded this video.
Dang. First of all, happy Mother's Day before I get into this drama, because I got to go take my mom out. I'm having a splendid day today. Second, your TikTok is cute, bro. It's cute. I get it. You're doing your best to show face. Do whatever you need, bro. Like, talk to your team. Do whatever you need. But when you want to be a man, come talk to me like a man. Let's sit down like men and talk about it. Mike did it. Mike's a real man. He had the chance to come, sit, talk, show all of his points of views, brother. You could bring camera. You could bring your attorney, bro. Come sit on the couch and talk to me like a man. Let's talk, bro.
Okay, so now I'm thinking that this is promotion for his show to get views toward his show, which I'm not mad at it. Okay, I'm not mad at it at all, but it looks disingenuous because it would be great for his show, and I think that them talking it out would be a great deal. But I believe that they need to have a talk without the cameras. Okay, if they were really best friends like they say they were, they need to have a talk without the cameras. The cameras do not need to be present. And then once they have that talk behind, like without the cameras, then they can come on the podcast and have a discussion on his podcast or on the Impulsive podcast or whatever podcast they want to, create the content on. But this conversation needs to be had without the cameras even being involved. Okay, let's just start there.
Let's talk, bro. Because obviously you want to talk. Let's talk. Come talk to me, bro.
So, will we see Logan and George talking this out on one of their podcasts? Who knows? Probably, because this is the influencer industry. And now they've kind of hyped it up. But this whole situation just shows how important communication is between friends and business partners. Because if these guys just communicated their feelings rather than held on to their grudges, this likely wouldn't have escalated to this point. Also, Logan, didn't you promise something to the CryptoZoo holders that still hasn't happened? It's been a minute now.
I don't know nothing about that. But anyway, guys, what do you guys think about this video? What do you guys think about this situation? Do you think George was wrong? Do you think Logan was wrong? Or you don't know who was wrong because you want to hear a little bit more about the situation before you come to a conclusion on whose side you would be on or who you would agree with? Let me know in the comments down below. But follow my gaming channel, which is going to be in the description and in the comments down below. Also, my new couples channel is going to be in the description and in the comments down below. On my new couples channel, we are going to be doing mukbangs, food reviews, and also couple gaming. So make sure you go and check that channel out as well. But anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for coming through. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And remember, don't worry about failure. You only have to be right once. Peace.
Kinetics with the fucking plug.